let's welcome in our guest. She's not really a guest. She basically lives here. That would be Mego from WEEI, weei.com. And you can hear her, of course, with me and Ted and Shime on Football Sundays, including this Sunday at 10 o'clock. Just because there's no Patriots game Sunday, the show must go on. Mego, welcome. How we doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing on this Friday?
I'm doing great. It's a nice Victory Friday, nice Patriots Friday here. Let's go ahead and start with your impressions from what we all witnessed last night. Short week, a Jets team that, while they don't win a lot of games, don't really get blown out that much either. They hung around in that game for sure. Patriots able to come away with a victory. What did you like and what didn't you like?
I think I'll start, obviously, with what I like, and that is that this team is so freaking confident and professional. And I say professional because all the short week stuff coming off of a really physical Tampa game where a lot of their key players got pretty banged up. And then some guys were out, like Terrell Jennings, but somebody like Trevion Henderson suffered a knee injury and was limited in practice in one of the two practices that they were able to hold this week, and then goes in and has a hat trick of touchdowns. I think that says something to what the head coach and what the organization is able to do. And they talked about it a lot after the game about saunas and body work and all the stuff that they did, IV hydration down in Florida to get themselves prepared for this Thursday night game. But I say confident as well because it's so clear to me that they're in a position where I don't know if this is something that's going to be great for them to carry into the playoffs, but they can have Justin Fields and Breece Hall run through them in the first possession and once again have a team score a touchdown or just score on their first possession of the game and be like, okay, shrug that off. We've been here. We're going to get to where we need to get to. And I think that that's just, again, I don't know if that's something that you want to accept for the long term when you see more talented teams, but they do just have this innate belief in themselves as the game goes on.
Yeah, and against Tampa, the same thing happened, and Tampa is a good team. And that was sort of the thing. Yeah. It's like, well, you can't let this happen against a good team. It'll finally come back to bite you. Actually, it didn't. It really didn't. Tampa, the same thing happened, and they still won.
Yeah, because I think on both sides of the ball, like it's different levels of confidence where I think offensively it's so clear that they feel that different guys can make plays for them. It's not the kind of team where they have to look to Steph Diggs and they have to have him have a performance like he did last night or like he did against Buffalo, which was very emotional for him. They can go to Mac Hollins for an entire half like they did in the second half against Tampa. They can go to Demario Douglas for a whole game as they did the week before, and he had 100-plus receiving yards. And then I think over on defense, it's a little bit different because strangely, I do think that they're a little bit more up and down at times for a Vrabel defensively focused coach team. But I think that confidence just is felt throughout the locker room.
And now, Mego, you famously are in that locker room, as we know on Sundays when we go inside the locker room with a player who, every time you interview a player, they do something good in the game, which is an amazing streak that you're on. But I want to know, at what point in that locker room did you kind of realize, all right, these guys all really are buying it? Was there like a certain game, a certain post game where it was just like, okay, this is it?
So it was interesting. I'm going to pull back the curtain on a story that I didn't write. So I wanted to do this story about when a team figures out that they're good. And I wanted to go around the locker room and talk to guys who were new free agents who had been on really good teams. So guys like Carlton Davis when he was in Tampa, Milton Williams, Garrett Bradbury when he was with the Vikings, and asked them when they kind of felt like, okay, things are really swinging their way. And that was right before the Buffalo game. So then, because I honestly went into that thinking like, hey, if they can hang out with Buffalo, if they can be tough in there, then we can say, hey, this is a pretty good team. They're scrappy. They're frisky. They might have something. And then, they don't exactly blow doors, but they certainly make a statement in Sunday Night Football. And so then I scrapped that because I was like, well, now this feels very stupid. They're a good team because they beat Buffalo. But I think I felt it in that locker room leading up to that game, that those guys felt like they should be taken seriously. They knew that they hadn't arrived and they had a lot that they had to prove, but they all bought so much into what Mike Vrabel was selling early on. And I think once the season started, the part of what the Raiders game, why that opening game was such a disappointment was because everybody's expectations were so much higher. And it was almost like looking around the locker room, the guys were like, we seriously just played like that And you come out of camp, and this is kind of a long-winded way of saying I think a lot of players, even when they come out of camp, they're not sure exactly what kind of team they are. But this team grew their confidence very quickly. And I would say it was leading up to that Buffalo game, and then the Buffalo game just kind of announced it to everybody else.
We're talking with Mego here on the Christian Arcand Show. Mego, do you think that this team is playing as well as they're going to play, or do you think there's another level that they have?
It's hard to say because I think so much of it is tied directly to the quarterback. And I spent a couple weeks saying, surely this is unsustainable. And I'm done with that with Drake Maye, because I think with Drake, what is most interesting to me is not just, okay, you can look at the passer rating or statistics that fit what argument you want to make for him on either side, but he's fixing stuff as the season goes along. Like, what were we talking about 3 weeks ago? We were talking about the sacks that he was taking. He's taking six sacks in back-to-back games. He only takes one apiece in a short week. And so that, I think you can already see him maneuvering and moving around a dirty pocket like much better than he was, say, 5 or 6 weeks ago before he saw a pair of really good defenses. Sliding early in the season. Oh my God, like how much do we talk about sliding? He still scares the crap out of me half the time when he goes to try to slide, because I know he played baseball, but it just looks a little awkward. But he's doing a good job protecting himself. And so I think the team just will largely go as Drake goes. And if he continues this level of play, then I think that they will continue to have this confidence and be able to make big plays that erase a lot of the mistakes that they have. So I kind of think that they're going to keep, I wouldn't say like climbing to another level, but rising to the occasion that they're in. And it'll be interesting to see once they get into the playoffs, everything kind of resets and it'll be a different level of intensity, but I really think the team is kind of built for that.
Yeah, they certainly appear to be. Mike Reese said that the non-quarterback MVP of this team is Steph Diggs. You're probably the wrong person to ask, but do you agree with him?
I have a different take on that.
Okay.
And maybe this isn't as spicy. I like that assertion from Mike Reese. You know, I'm a big Steph Diggs fan.
We know.
But I think that he's so clearly the best free agent signing that they've had since Brady left. And I might need to even go back further into deeper into the final Brady years to see if there's another free agent signing that's made such a big impact. So I would definitely give him that moniker. But in terms of the MVP outside of quarterback, I don't know. I might have to think on that a little bit more, because I think collectively what the offensive line has been able to do in staying healthy and playing together game to game, especially when our expectations were so low going into the season, those guys just don't really get a ton of credit. We only look at them when protection breaks down and then we all yell about it. So I think that might be the most important aspect to the team's play right now, but Steph Diggs is certainly the most exciting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think you can make an argument for Milton Williams just because this team went from what they were last year to a top run-stuffing defense, and he's the guy in the middle, and, Spillane, and there's other guys that you can point to, but I think Williams, especially considering he wasn't a full-time player on those Eagles teams, right? Like, he was, they brought him in certain, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think we can agree Milton Williams is the most online guy. So he's got that going for him.
That's true. Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I guess that was during the game. But yeah, that's one way that they've certainly transformed. Where do you think there's still room for improvement with this team?
So I thought it was pretty apparent last night against Justin Fields. Something that they haven't seen a ton of are these super mobile dual threat quarterbacks. And Justin Fields is not a dual threat because he's not a good passer. He's a single threat as a runner. But they're probably most likely, I don't know, the practice reports are weird out of Baltimore, but they're probably going to see Lamar Jackson in a couple of weeks, and they're going to see Josh Allen again, and then who knows who they'll see in the playoffs. They need to work on containing these quarterbacks who can run. We all have seen the different stats of how good the rush defense has been against true runners, but both Josh Allen and Justin Fields were able to post over 50 rushing yards on them. The only time Drake Maye has done that this entire season, by the way, was against Tennessee, who were abysmal. So that kind of gives you an idea of, as much as we're like, wow, Drake can take off and make stuff happen, and he's doing that more I think, through the air now than with his legs, which is another great progression. But as much as we look at that, they've had two of the better running quarterbacks post pretty big stats on them. And so I think that's just something to watch. It reminds me a little bit of a similar issue that the 2021 defense had, which was, again, a really good defense, but they had trouble, especially when guys are able to break out to the right side like you saw last night with Justin Fields and take off over there.
Yeah, no question about it. All right, last question. Are you getting Steph and Cardi B a baby gift?
Oh, my gosh. I don't want to be creepy. Like, I don't want to be all in their business and everything. I was very surprised, though, because I honestly wasn't locked into the timeline of the pregnancy. And I was like, wow, she was very pregnant when she was at the stadium the other day in the box. Like, she could have had her water break next to Mr. Kraft and delivered in a hospital in Boston.
Robert and Jonathan there, like, breathe, right? Doing the breathing exercises. That would have been something to see. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, if it was a movie, that's what would have happened.
Definitely.
He would have his touchdown, and then her water would break, and she'd be like, "Oh, the baby's coming," and it would be great.
Yeah.
I would have loved that.
The baby comes out.
Congratulations to them.
Baby comes out and says, "Go Pats" or something. That would work out great.
Yeah, exactly.
Megan Ottolini, a.k.a. Mego, great to talk with you as always. I'll see you on Sunday for Football Sunday with you, me, Chris Scheim, Ted Johnson, Wiggy. No Tommy Curran this weekend. He's blowing us off. But everybody else will be there, and you'll be there, and we'll talk to you then, okay?
Okay. All right. Thanks, Arcand.
All right. Later, Mego. That is Mego joining us here on the Christian Arcand Show.